You don't just quit. You don't just give up. You just adjust the plan. You course correct.
Boss bitch. Boss bitch.
Today, I'm going to talk to you about a phenomenon I see quite often. Having been in the fitness, health, nutrition space for quite some time, it is giving up and seeing women, because, that's what I work with as women. I see women giving up and quitting time and time and time again. I've had my business for 16 years. I have seen women come, they stay for 3-6 months, disappear, come back, they flow in and out and in and out, and they're constantly frustrated because they lack results. And so if you find that this sounds like you, or maybe you go through these phases, let's buckle in, bitches, okay? Because I'm about to give it to you straight and with just a little bit of lube, okay? But gentle, loving pressure, because I want you to think about the bigger picture instead of just you're wanting to lose 5 or 10 pounds. And sometimes that's a really hard thing to do, a real hard concept to wrap your head around, especially if you've never been very familiar with setting goals or know of any kind of goal setting process. So let's start with number 1. You have to focus on your why. And that can get very muddy and very confusing. And it's going to be harder for you to stick to anything if you don't know why you're doing it. So when you are doing something, you set yourself up for some kind of program or plan or maybe contest prep, and you feel like giving up, you have to remind yourself, why am I doing this in the first place? And if you don't know why, it's going to be easier for you to just quit and stop doing the thing, right? What was your original motivation? What goal are you trying to achieve? By reconnecting with that, a lot of times, first and foremost, it can give you a little bit of fire under your ass to renew your motivation and to continue and to keep going. And with that, focusing on your why, you can be a little in the mud with that. Like what do I want? Why am I doing this? What is the bigger purpose? And it has to be a very important part of your goal setting strategy, because when you get too far off course, this is like your anchor. This is your thing. So here, I'm going to give you some tips on helping you focus on your why when you're setting your goals. Okay. Number 1, you have to reflect on what your values are. Okay. What are your values? What's important to you? What is it important to you as far as your beliefs and who you set out to be in the world? Think about what motivates you, who inspires you, what inspires you, and how are your goals in alignment with those values? This is going to help you identify a deeper reasoning and purpose and essentially your why behind your goals and keep you motivated in the long term. So for myself, for example, my values are being a person of integrity and being a person of my word, leading by example. So my children want to follow that lead, or at least showing them and modeling them what that looks like. When I had kids, I felt like that was a super important part of my values, because I didn't get that modeled for myself from one of my parentals growing up. And I lacked that. And I wanted to make sure that was something that I led with when I had my children. And so part of that for me, which doesn't mean that has to be for you, was I wanted them to grow up and feel empowered and confident in their own bodies and their lives and be strong and feel what it feels like to really take ownership of your health. So that was a huge part of my mission, and it still is to this day, and it's never swayed. Like, that has been my foundation to the rock bottom of my core with what I do in the health and fitness space and in my business, okay? The second thing when it comes to focusing on your why is visualizing your success. And this can be really hard for some people. So you have to take some time to picture yourself, visualize yourself achieving those goals. Now, if you've never set out to achieve big goals in your life, this can be a disorienting and strange kind of process, imagining like how you're going to feel when you achieve that thing. What will you do? How will your life be different? What will things look like? Who are the people in your life that are going to be noticing these things? This is going to help you connect with the more tactile, like emotional aspects of your goals and keep you focused on why you're doing them. There are so many times when I have gone into a contest prep scenario and leading up into those days. So, if you're an athlete, this is super important that you visualize yourself getting on stage, watching myself as if I'm in the audience, watching myself, and also visualizing as I'm on stage myself, looking out into the audience or looking at the judges and really thinking as granular as possible about that experience. What are the sounds I'm hearing? What am I seeing with my eyes? What is the temperature of the room? Taking it as far as you can with the details and visualization is almost like mapping your brain to work for you in achieving those goals. There is so much science about the power of your brain and the ability to forecast and predict and sort of manifest your way into certain goals that you set by visualizing. So, I encourage you to look into some things maybe on YouTube or some audiobooks or books about visualizations and visualization and athletes and how they do this prior to any kind of athletic event or performers. Visualization is key. And it's not just for athletes and performers. This can work for you if you have no desire to do any of those things, but you want to set goals for yourself that maybe are a little bit scary and could find yourself getting off track with maybe giving up or quitting. Okay, the next thing when you are trying to find this why and you've done a little bit of reflecting on your values, visualizing your success, is writing it down. Need to write it down. It should not just live in your head floating around on like a mental sticky note in there like someday I want to do this thing, right? We are usually at fault for holding ourselves back and getting in our own ways with achieving our goals because we don't give ourselves enough credit for what we can achieve. So write that shit down. Get a journal. Buy a fancy journal. Get something cute. Get a fun pen to write with. This is my jam. I have been journaling, AKA writing in a diary, since I was, I think, 10 years old. And I still have all those diaries to this day. Now it goes in waves. It's not every day, but when I'm in a space in a chapter in my life where I'm trying to set goals or there's something that I want to achieve, whether that be personal, business, relationship, family, I put that on paper. I write it down. It can be as simple as getting a notebook, writing a line down the middle, and doing a pros and a cons list. What are the pros if I decide to chase this goal? What are the cons? Okay. Another page, you're going to write down what would I need to do in order to achieve this goal? And I want you to just dump everything that you can possibly think of on paper. The point is you have to stay focused and motivated. And a big piece of this is getting it out on paper so you can see this all unfold before you. Take the time, set aside some time, articulate those goals. It does not have to be like a full weekend and this big drawn out thing. And because ultimately, the more barrier for you to do it, the less likely you are. So if you feel like you need to take a whole day or a whole weekend or a whole hour, you're less likely to do it. 5 minutes a day, 5 minutes every other day. I don't care if it's 5 minutes a week. If it's more than you've ever done, then do it. Write it down. This is going to help you get very clear about your thinking. It's going to help you even sometimes face some demons that you don't want to face, right? Like if there's some goals you want to achieve, but there's other things in your life that have to happen for that to take place. That's a reality check. And sometimes that's really scary. So it's the best way to get honest with yourself in having a sort of reference point when you need to reconnect with your motivation to do the things that need to be done. Okay. Can't speak enough about brain dumping and writing these things out. This is a great first step in achieving your goals because then you can start to reverse engineer them. And we're going to talk about that in a second. So another way of connecting with your why is sharing it with other people. This is very, very powerful, and do not underestimate the power of social pressure, okay? Sharing your goals and your why with other people is one of those things where it's like they kind of hold your feet to the fire, but it's also if you value being a person of your word and integrity like I do, when I say I'm going to do something out loud and I tell other people who I know love me and care about me, they're going to ask me about it and they're going to hold me accountable to that. So it will help you with getting it out into the universe and being essentially accountable to those that you shared it with. A great place to do this, and you might not be a fan, but I'm big fan of sharing my life, is being transparent with that on social media and sharing your journey with people on social media. That's going to allow them to encourage you, cheer you on, give you feedback, also be your sounding board if you hit some kind of like snags in your journey where you do want to quit and give up. Turn to these people, let them help you out and help kind of bolster you into your right mind of continuing forward with chasing your goals. And then the last one on your why is something that's also very helpful, is keeping your vision or your why visible. Okay. Having it visible in your daily life, putting it somewhere on, whether that's your bathroom mirror, your desk, a sticky note on your planner, wallpaper of your computer, your wallpaper of your phone, something front of mind that will remind you why you are doing this thing as a constant source of motivation to work towards your goals. The more that you can do that, the more touchstones, I call them, that you have in front of you when it comes to trying to achieve your goal, the more likely that you're going to be on top of all the things that need to happen to get you there. Okay. Now, another thing to help you stop giving up is breaking it down, right? Which is a lot of what I've already been talking about, but breaking it down in bite-sized chunks. So breaking your goals down in small little pieces that feel attainable and not overwhelming. The moment something feels overwhelming, our illogical part of our brain takes over and we get into this like panic mode and we just freeze and we do nothing. Okay. I don't want you to do that. So to combat this sensation, this feeling, breaking it down into smaller, more manageable to-dos, tasks, little things will help you focus one step at a time, and you will feel a sense of progress and accomplishment. It's a fun way to keep yourself motivated to continue. Okay. It's like, imagine you have a big stack of dominoes and you just line those guys up, right? Line them up in an order, and every domino that you tip is one of these little tasks on your list, and eventually you knock down the entire row of dominoes, and before you know it, you've achieved your goal. And this is how I really coach my clients to stay focused when they check in, every week. A lot of my athletes, it's like they don't see the final result. That's my job, is to see that. And my job is to steer them that direction and also tell them when they're off course. But I'm giving them weekly, daily, bite-sized, actionable things that they just keep repeating. And then by the time we get to stage time, they have done it. But I can tell you how many of them are in their head and they don't think things are working and things are moving and they're moving very slow. It's like watching grass grow, all the things. But eventually they catch some momentum with that and the dominoes all fall in line. But when you keep quitting and giving up, you've just disrupted the pattern of your dominoes and you have to start over every single time. And it's incredibly frustrating. So to break down your goals into smaller, more manageable tasks, this is going to help you with this progress. This is going to help you stay motivated because you have these small wins under your belt and it doesn't feel so overwhelming. So some tips on breaking down your goals. Start with the end in mind. All right. This is easy for a contest prep scenario in the sense that you know that this is the day you would like your heel to hit the stage. And we just have to reverse engineer that. Okay. When you know the end goal, it'll give you a very clear, concise target. It's not like someday I want to lose 10 pounds. That is not a very smart goal. That is just a very generalized with no deadline, no specifics, no rhyme, no reason, no why, nothing. Okay. Start with the end in mind. And then you can break the strategy into smaller tasks. The other part of this is identifying some key milestones. So, with my athletes, for example, I know that they're competing, let's say it's a 20-week out prep. I know by certain checkpoints and milestones, they should have achieved a certain amount of scale weight loss, inches lost. They should be doing a certain amount of cardio by this point to keep them progressing. Everyone's a little bit different, but this is going to help you track your progress and keep you motivated towards your goal once you see these little milestones have happened. It's like little checkpoint flags, right? You're like, okay, sweet. 20 weeks out and, coach wants me to be at this specific weight and I'm there. Great. You have these little milestones. But the only way that you're going to achieve those milestones is by doing the little tiny tasks that need to be done every single day because you've broken them down. So that leads me to the next step, which is creating a plan. And once you've identified those milestones, is creating a plan for how you're going to reach each one, right? It's not just going to happen by sheer luck. You have to do the work. You have to reverse engineer it. You have to make sure that you're on track by creating this plan and breaking each milestone down into small, specific tasks that you need to complete in order to achieve these little milestones that will then get you to the greater goal. And this can be this is applicable for any kind of goal that you're setting. It could be a financial goal, it can be an educational goal, it can be really anything that you need to set your mind out to. This is a strategy that can essentially work very well for that. The other thing next is prioritizing your tasks. Now, once you have a list of specific tasks, prioritize them based on their importance and urgency. Not everything is urgent, okay? This is going to help you focus on the tasks that will have the biggest impact on your progress towards your goal. And I like to call these the big rocks. What are the big tasks that are important that are going to move the dial? Okay. So let's just use my example from a contest prep scenario. You're 20 weeks out. The big dial movers, the big rocks are going to be prioritizing your nutrition, right? We know that in order to get contest ready or to lose body fat and to get in the best shape of your life, even if you never want to compete, your diet has to be on point. That is going to be the big rock. The little rocks, let me tell you what little rocks are when it comes to prioritizing where your attention goes. Little rocks are going to be like, well, how many grams of sugar should I have a day? How many grams of sodium should I have a day? How many ounces of water should I have a day? All of the little things that aren't going to move the dial a significant amount are going to be those little tiny things that people focus on that end up derailing them completely and they can't adhere to because it's way too restrictive. So getting your diet in check, whether that's hiring a diet coach, whether that's tracking your macros, whether that's, eating off a meal plan, something that is going to be a big rock. Okay. So prioritizing your big, important things that are going to move you quicker to that goal is what you want to focus on when you're prioritizing your tasks. Next, assign deadlines. You have to get real with yourself. If you are not hiring somebody to work with you in some capacity to reach your goals, okay, so I'll give you another example. I hired a podcast coach 2 years ago when I wanted to start this podcast. And even that was a process in goal setting, right? Like I knew that I wanted to launch a podcast in International Women's Month, and that was in March. And so in January, I started reverse engineering the process. I hired a podcast coach. I got on the phone with him, and we had deadlines as we progressed. So I knew he was going to tell me, okay, by the next time we have our call, I want you to have done this, this, and this. Yes, sir. And then I just get on it, right? You have to make sure that your deadlines are realistic and they're achievable, right? You're not trying to do too much at once and then just set yourself up for failure, but they also need to be challenging enough to keep you motivated. If they're not challenging enough to keep you motivated, you're not going to end up doing it, okay? And also the fact that you have somebody holding you accountable is incredibly helpful. So staying on track, assigning deadlines, hold yourself accountable to that, write that shit down so that way you're not just, I hope I get it done, soon. What does that mean? We need more specifics, okay? The next one and the last one is going to be monitoring your progress. So as you work towards your goal, you want to make sure that you're monitoring your progress regularly and adjust it as needed. I've done it time and time again where I've set some really lofty goals and I've set my deadlines and I've, started working on my tasks and doing all the things. But then I've realized, okay, I really bit off way more than I can chew. So knowing that I have done that, I have to readjust and be realistic that way they are achievable. But I also feel like sometimes overreaching your goal or your deadlines or your tasks just a hair kind of pushes you to work a little bit harder, right? It's that little fire under your ass that's like, shit, 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 shit. I have a deadline. Okay. Now, I'm not going to lie. I do this with almost every single one of my athletes. I give them what I call push goals, and it's a bit of a push, but I know that if I'm giving them a bit of a push, we are going to make the mark for stage. We're going to be on time. We're not going to be behind. And if they fall back a little bit, it's not going to be too imperative to their prep. We're still going to be in a good spot, but I am going to give you a little bit of a poop your pants goal. That's what I call it. It should be poop your pants hard. All right. Okay. And then nextly, you need to monitor your progress as you're doing these things. So as you're working at your goal, monitor it regularly, adjust it as needed. And don't be afraid to celebrate your successes along the way. Now, I'm very guilty of struggling with this part. I'm always thinking, the second that I start celebrating some great milestone or some kind of success with something, like, I don't know, it's going to get taken from me. And then I'm like, oh shit, I shouldn't have celebrated. It's some weird like mind fuckery that goes on with my brain. But celebrating your successes is super important. It's like telling the universe, give me more of that shit. Okay. Yes, that was good. We like more of that. We want to celebrate that and use any kind of setbacks or failures as a learning opportunity. I said this in a podcast prior. I love failing. I hate it, but I also love it because I always learn something and I make adjustments. And whatever that is that I'm doing, it ends up being that much better from my lessons failed. Okay. So by breaking those goals down into smaller, specific tasks, you can make progress towards your goals and stay motivated, a lot more motivated than had you not along the way. So the key is consistency, persistence, and patience. Okay. Small steps are going to lead to big results over time. Just remember that. Okay. So let's dive into the next one, which is what we already talked about, celebrating your successes, which I am admitting to struggling with sometimes. Celebrating your successes, no matter how small or big, is going to help you stay motivated and positive, right? We're telling the universe, give me more of that shit. Because ultimately it can be super easy to get bogged down with your failures and setbacks. But when you can celebrate your successes, it's likely that you're going to want to keep going forward, right? Like, oh yes. And this is what I try to do with my athletes, right? I want to celebrate their milestones. I want to celebrate their successes and acknowledge them. So that way they feel like they're on the right track and they have that support system to achieve what we're setting out to achieve with their goals. So take the time, acknowledge your achievements, and it's going to make you feel good, right? You're going to feel good about what you've accomplished. It's going to motivate you, and you're going to want to keep working towards your goals. Now, one thing I see gone wrong with this, especially with a lot of women, is when they have some great success with their progress in the gym or with their diet or their nutrition, their body goals, that to them, they want to celebrate by being, air quotes, being good, and they deserve, some kind of highly caloric, calorie-laden meal. And to that, I say that that's a fool's game. So don't celebrate, but find other ways to celebrate if you're trying to keep your body goals in mind. If you give two shits less about your body goals, go fucking ham and fuck up some food, sis. But most of y'all listening have typically on this podcast have some kind of body goals. And celebrating with food is a bad habit to get into because it keeps you in this perpetual like pendulum of like, great, I saw all this results. And then the pendulum swings and you are like doing the diet cha-cha back and forth because you're celebrating with food and then you're just kind of backtracking on your results. So just be very honest with yourself and celebrate, but find other means of celebration other than food if you are trying to, one, be in a contest prep, or two, you have some kind of body or health goals. Okay. Another way to celebrate your success is sharing it with others, telling your family, your friends, people that you work with, maybe sharing it on social media. I don't think there's anything wrong with being proud about your success. Some people perceive this as being like braggadocious or, just kind of being cocky or whatever. I think there's enough to go around, right? There's enough happiness and celebration, and we're just not sharing it as much as we're sharing like negative stuff. So I would love to see more people celebrating their successes without also saying like, oh, I did really great this week. I hit all my targets, but next week's going to be hard, or have some negative attachment to that. Like, just leave it as a positive celebration in your success or your journey towards your goals, and you will likely inspire someone else to also celebrate their own successes. Okay, so keep that in mind. It'll help you feel, supported by people who love you, and also, like I said, inspire others to pursue their own goals. So now, when it comes to celebrating, I'm not going to lie, like, treat yourself, but know thyself, right? Like I said, are you in a prep scenario? Are you in a body goals situation where you maybe can't treat yourself to a favorite meal? But if you're not, treat yourself to a favorite meal. Do something special for yourself. Take a day spa, get a pedicure, get a facial, buy a new book, go to a movie, just take a nap, like, I don't know, something. And it's going to help you start to associate your success with positive feelings and outcomes and emotions that can serve as a reward for your hard work and your accomplishments along the way. I don't see anything wrong. I am all about the treat yourself method. Okay. Then also take some time when you are celebrating your success to reflect on the growth, right? We don't do that often enough. We're so worried about looking forward that we don't take a second to look back and really reflect on how far you've come and the progress that you've made, the things that you have learned, the things that you have achieved. And this is going to help you appreciate the process, the accomplishments, the journey, so much more, but also identify things that are possibly things that you don't want to repeat and things that you want to continue to do, right? Things that you grew and you learned from. And then lastly, when you can celebrate your success, this is also going to help you set new goals, which I feel like is an ever, evolving thing for every single person. It can change. You might think you're going to set out to do one thing, and then you start to do it and you decide that's not what you really wanted after all. So this is a great process because as you have successes towards your goals, you can use that as motivation to regroup, set new goals, course correct, and also just continue learning and growing in whatever avenue you want to go with your goals, whatever your goal is. So building on your success will help you create a positive, like, loop cycle of motivation and encouragement and achievement. So it's not about being like braggadocious, like I said, or boastful or like an arrogant ass. It's more about just recognizing your hard work and effort, and also just knowing that it's going to help you stay positive and motivated to continue on with other things, right? The more that you associate yourself with being someone who achieves their goals. Okay. Next in your quest to stop quitting and giving up is surrounding yourself with support. So when you're feeling just discouraged and you're not feeling it, like your goals, you're over it, it can be incredibly helpful to turn to your support system, right? I have a really good support system. I have great friends. We have a group text going, and this is where we chat. Maybe for you, it's your family, or quite possibly, your coworkers, if you like your coworkers, people who believe in you and your goals and that want to see you succeed. Maybe it's a spouse or partner, something like that. This is going to be great. It's going to help with you staying encouraged and help you stay motivated, because you can share your struggles and get some perspective from people who care about you, that are going to be able to see things about you that you likely aren't going to see for yourself. It's very, very eye-opening when you can talk to people who love you and care about you, about your goals, and they share some perspectives with you that maybe you didn't think about. Okay. So when it comes to support, like I said, identifying your support network, seek out new connections. So if you don't have a support network, think about other possibilities. So online groups, social media, Facebook has some great Facebook groups that you can kind of start diving into and find like-minded people in whatever it is that you're interested in. There's also local meetups. Get creative, start Googling, look around. You'll find other people who are also interested in similar goals that you have and kind of things that you're striving for. And don't be afraid to reach out and connect. I think as adults, it's always challenging to meet new people and befriend new people. It's kind of like weird. You're grown up, you're like, oh, meeting new friends is weird. But it's actually not that bad, especially when you have a common interest. It's a great conversation starter and a great way for you to meet new people. So that's an option. So another thing too is when you are trying to find a support system is you can't be afraid of being like open and vulnerable. So that way you can allow yourself to build strong relationships that are going to definitely require vulnerability. The more that you are vulnerable, the more strong your relationships become because you're sharing, pieces of you that maybe not everyone gets to see. You get to be a little more honest about things and you can be open about your goals, your challenges, your struggles, and honestly be willing to listen and learn from others, right? And let them support you, but also support them as well. And this is why I love, love this community that we built in our studio in Modesto at Venus is because everybody there is like, there's a common theme. I mean, there's women in their 60s. We now have a client in her 70s. We've got lots of women in their 50s, a ton of women in their 40s, 30s, and a few in their 20s. But at the end of the day, everybody in that space, they're just trying to get through their workout, right? They don't want to die. They want to get through their workout. They want to have a great workout. And so there's a greater bond between everybody that's in there. They're all kind of doing the same-ish things. Some people are having things modified depending on, their physical abilities and things. But they're supporting each other and they're cheering each other on, and they're sharing, their struggles as well as their, accomplishments. And it's a great place to be in. So when you can find that little like community of humans, you want to like stick to them because if you don't have that in your outside world, it's really hard to start and form as an adult. So when you find it, it's a great space to have in your back pocket because not everybody in their personal life has that, right? Like their spouses or their partners or their family maybe don't understand their goals or the things that they believe in or find important and things like that. So when you find it, stick to that shit like glue. Okay. All right. Nextly, when you are trying to continue to give up and quit is one that I think is probably number one, but it's number 5 on my list, which is staying accountable and holding yourself accountable to somebody, right? And we've already talked about like surrounding yourself with support and things like this. So this essentially just kind of like bleeds into that conversation, but a support system that is going to help you track your progress or somebody that's going to keep you accountable, I should say, and hold you to your commitments. This is key. This is why I hire and outsource that shit. I throw money at the motherfucking problem. Okay. Now, I've thrown money at the problem since I didn't have money to fucking throw at the problem. Okay. When I was a single mom with 2 kids, working 2 jobs and all the things, and you may not believe in credit card debt, but there was a lot of times back in the day when I was like, I am not going to be able to do this thing or achieve this goal without hiring somebody who has already done it. That's going to save me the time, the errors, and all of the knowledge that I don't have to do this thing. So that is essentially how I have grown to grow my business and have multiple businesses and be successful at them is because I didn't know how to do that. So I needed to hire somebody to help me figure that out. And sometimes that's not possible. Sometimes financially, budget wise, that's not possible. But I'm going to tell you right now, most of y'all are listening to me on a device that is a very expensive, AKA a cell phone. So I'd be hard pressed to think that you can't possibly find a way to stay accountable by outsourcing that, by hiring somebody in whatever your said goal or desire is to achieve. And that could be somebody maybe that's just 5 steps ahead of you, right? 5 steps ahead of where you want to be with your goals. And you can hire them for them to hold you accountable to the things that they are going to help you achieve. Okay. Very, very important. Otherwise, this can be as simple as keeping a journal and sharing that with a friend or a mentor or something like that. But again, you really have to be super diligent in making sure that you follow through with your accountability person. Writing your goals down, making them tangible, and that's going to help, but putting them in a visible space, as we've talked about, is also going to be one of those things to remind you what you're working towards. The second thing, making a plan, right? How are you going to achieve them? We've talked about that, the specific steps. Finding that accountability partner, someone that's going to hold you accountable to that, sharing your goals with them, checking in with them regularly to let them know how you're doing. If you're paying somebody, right, and you have set check-ins with them or appointments or schedules or calls, sticking to those days, showing up, checking in anyways, even if you feel like your progress has been shit towards your goals. You have to do it because that person is going to help you. How else do I say this? Pull your head out of your ass and give you some lessons, some teaching tools, maybe some resources to kind of get you through the sticky part. And a lot of times that's all you need to get over the hump, to just kind of be like, okay, I was like in my own bullshit and now I'm good. I'm good, boo boo. Okay. There's also a possibility of using technology. There's so many apps out there, apps and tools and websites that you can use that are going to help you stay accountable, with notifications and habit trackers and goal setting apps and things like that. But just find one that you feel that is going to work for you and just stick to that and track it and be consistent with that. Okay. And then lastly, just be flexible and knowing that life is unpredictable with all this shit I'm telling you right now. Okay. And sometimes things are just not going to go as planned. You have to just know that you have to be flexible with that and willing to adjust your plan as needed, because sometimes kids get sick and family members get sick or parents get sick or people lose jobs or whatever. Like, life is still going to do its thing. Your life does not care that you have goals. Okay. I was telling my clients this when they're wanting to do all the things and get registered for a show and buy all the things. I'm like, let's just, hold off, because life gets lifey and we're going to do all the things and I'm going to get you there. But just in case, because life is lifey and very unpredictable, if it hands you a shit sandwich, we can back out and, we're going to have to be flexible with that. And just to kind of finish off on this Motivational Monday on that note is, remember that setbacks are normal. Okay. It's important to just remember that it is a normal part of the journey. That happened to me. I don't know if y'all have been around long enough to know, but when I did my pro debut, I got COVID at the beginning of my prep, and there was nothing I could do about that. I was in the hospital for 4 days, and I just was like, okay, well, it is what it is. I can't beat myself up about it. There's plenty of shows. There's always going to be shows to do. I was not too hard on myself. And I just said, okay, well, this is what I'm going to learn from it. It's telling me to slow the fuck down. And it had kind of lit a fire under my ass once I was finally better, to get up and just be like, COVID didn't get me, motherfucker. and I competed anyways. And I don't always suggest that, because it was a really grueling prep of 9 weeks that I would not do for anybody. But it's, again, that in and of itself is a learning lesson in that experience with me trying to prep, coming out of the hospital. So setbacks are totally normal. It's normal to get discouraged, but I don't want it to bring you down, right? When things don't go as planned, try your best to not get discouraged. Reach out to your support group. Some tips for what to do when you experience that is reframe your perspective. So instead of looking at your setbacks as failures, reframing them as learning opportunities, which I'm a huge advocate of, right? I'm never failing. I'm always learning. And each and every little setback, little, big, is providing you just information. It's just data. That's what I tell people. It's just data that can help you adjust your approach moving forward. Okay. And this is likely going to help you be more successful in the future if you take it with that perspective, if you can reframe your perspective. The other tip I have for you with your setbacks is assess your situation. What went wrong? Why did it go wrong? And get very, very specific with that in assessing what happened when you have any kind of setback. Okay. This is going to help you get real. Get really real with yourself and identify anything, any obstacles, any people, any issues that you might need to address in order for you to continue to progress forward. Nextly, adjusting your plan. This is likely going to happen. You don't just quit. You don't just give up. You just adjust the plan. You course correct. When you're driving your car and you take a wrong turn, Siri doesn't say, all right, well, we're done. We're quitting here. You suck at driving. All right. She just goes recalculating and she puts you back on fucking track. And that's what you need to do. You just adjust the motherfucking plan. All right. And you just course correct, revise your goals if you need to, adjust your timeline, hit up your accountability partners, brainstorm it, revamp it, whatever you need to do to help you overcome whatever the little snag in your Siri plan is, okay? Next is seek support, reach out. Like I said in the previous one, just kind of ties into that. Family members, your mentor, they're going to help you stay motivated, offer some different perspectives. That's often very, very helpful. And also some new advice that maybe you might just need to hear when you are experiencing a setback. And then lastly is self-care, because let's be real, when you have a setback or you decide or you're in the midst of just about to make a decision to quit something that you set out for, it's emotionally motherfucking draining, okay? Because you are playing mental gymnastics in your head about all the scenarios, about the thing it is that you're potentially wanting to give up or quit, right? There's so much. It's like draining your mental battery. So when you are experiencing this kind of setback or you're in this weird like gray space of just like, oh, I want to quit, I want to give up, and you want to just do this, and you know this about yourself. You keep quitting and you keep restarting all the goddamn time. Why the fuck are you doing that? Stop it. Okay. Give yourself a timeout. Kids need timeouts, and I honestly feel like adults need timeouts. I give myself timeouts all the time. I do this specifically when I'm feeling in a highly emotional state and I'm about to make a stupid decision in an emotional state. There is an emotional and there is a non-emotional, non-reactive type of state. And when you're in an emotional state because you're feeling a type of way about something, somebody, whatever happened, you're not in a logical space to make a decision. Give yourself a fucking timeout. Go take a bath, go take a nap, go to sleep on it, brain dump it in a journal. And I promise you, when you are not in the height of that emotion, you will make better decisions. Okay. If you are going to make a stupid and emotional decision, if you can share that with somebody, they will also likely be in a logical frame of mind to help talk you off the ledge with, making stupid decisions. So find your logical friend and share that with them. Other things that are also helpful is exercising, which I know some of you may be thinking, well, that might be the thing that I want to quit because I'm not seeing results or whatever. Just fucking do it anyways, because who has ever regretted a workout? Okay, maybe if like you had an injury or something, but again, that's like a freak weird situation. That's probably not normal. The moral of the story, folks, is remember, setbacks are totally normal. It's a normal part of the process in pursuing your goals. And, when you want to stop and give up and quit, setbacks are you just have to think of them as part of the process. They're likely going to happen, and it's going to help you learn, grow, and you're going to be able to grow in ways that you probably did not anticipate were going to happen. So stay focused, adjust your approach if you need to, ask for support, get accountability when you know that you're going to actually give up on yourself, or you found that you have before. And you can definitely overcome setbacks and continue to move towards your goals. So I hope today's Motivational Monday podcast was helpful for you. If you find that sometimes you want to give up, you want to quit, you get unmotivated, and I'm like, why am I doing this thing? So hopefully you've got a process here now that you can lean on and listen to and potentially quit quitting.
Boss bitch.
Thank you for listening to Boss Bitch Radio. It would mean the world to me if you could rate and review the podcast. If you could give us a 5-star review on iTunes, drop us a little comment. We will read those, and we offer prizes as a ethical bribe for you to leave us some great mojo and words of affirmation. You know, that is my love language. And also, if you're over on Spotify, you can rate and review it there as well. All of this helps other women, other people, other folks see us, hear us, and learn from all of the amazing boss bitch tools and hacks, and hopefully get some LOLs. And if not, if anything, if you could share this with one person, I'd love you forever. And I know you are just here for my undying love. And last but not least, please, 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 please come find me over on Instagram so we can be buddies. We can be Insta fam over there. I am Diane Flores _IFBB_pro. Come say hi, drop me a DM, let me know what you think of the podcast. I'm always open for new suggestions and feedback as well. And I hope you listen again soon.